Good evening and welcome back. I am Forgotten Ronin, and we are here to look at the Bloodlines 2 Dev Diaries as well. I was gonna go through as much as I could within these videos, waiting for anything new to come out. So, for the first Dev Diary, we just have the Chinese room actually being announced as the new developers. Um, this first portion seems to just be that, and stating what they want for Bloodlines 2 to be. Um, and then basically just talking about what they believe uh, Bloodlines 2 should feel like. And personally, for me, I believe that they can set the atmosphere correctly when it comes to characters. We're just gonna have to figure it out because this is something not in their normal wheelhouse. So we just have to wait and see for that. Um, I will say that uh, for me, they show promise, and at this point, basically, I've been extremely antsy when it comes to just any update we get because this is the first dev diary actually, and it was put out in 2023, in September of 2023, and we're a year, couple months later, and we have a end year at least. Hopefully soon we'll get a better timeline for when it should be completed. Um, but for me right now, this is actually uh, it's a good sign for me at least, um, because we at least have a developer working on something. We at least have dev diaries going back from 2023 till now, and we're still getting more information as it comes up. Um, so for this point, we're just gonna go into the second dev diary, um, which is just the atmosphere and the themes. So um, in this one, it's talking about where we are, which, if I remember, you wake trapped in Seattle, the full extent of your power artificially suppressed, diminished to a mere pawn to be used and exploited. After all, what are others if not our most disposable assets? And what better asset than a leashed and muzzled elder? And then the main NPC characters, Lu, Ryong, Tali, have their own agendas, and we can help them advance that. Um, it might not be in your best interest to bite every hand that seeks to bring you to heel, but to pick and choose, to play along, to bide your time, or not. That much, darling, is down to you. So for me, this if if this is leading down the three different factions that are in Seattle, I'm all for it, and it leads to actually being a a decent story with a decent amount of endings, and it might actually go well. Neo noir blurs the lines of morality, explores themes like revenge, paranoia, alienation, all of which perfectly encapsulates a kindred's existence, especially when you consider that neo noir stories are often driven by nihilistic, morally gray anti heroes. Yeah, and this is Tolly. Nosferatu. They they do really well getting the Nosferatu's disfigurement ish that they get from the clan. So I'm extremely happy with the way Ollie looks. Um, most characters in the game look amazing, whether they be Nosferatu, Ventru, or any other any other specific character we've seen. Have all looked really well made, and I'm extremely happy. And then we focus on character who knows what and who has the power in any given situation, and how the player can use that to their advantage. No one in Bloodlines 2 knows everything about everything as much as they might pretend. So how the player navigates these alliances and goes about learning new information makes the player feel like they're investigating a complex web of lies. We try to ensure that the player feels in control of the information that they know, who they share those secrets with, and why. So I do hope that that's true, and I do hope that it it causes endings to be locked if things aren't met, like in the first one. Um, yeah, if certain conditions aren't met, I'd be happy uh if some endings were locked in that way. One of our early design decisions was to make the player character into an elder kindred. This was interesting to us because it means that we can play with how this established vampire knows things about being a kindred already, and how we can create gaps to let the player learn this type of information firsthand, balancing the opportunity and the history it entails with the desire to allow players to still roleplay and make the character their own. It was extremely challenging but fun. Um, when it comes to this, I get what they're going for, and I understand it becomes very difficult to do this with multiple clans, especially when, like, even if you're in quotes powered down, it would still be difficult to make multiple different clan playable characters. So them limiting that decision just makes it a lot easier for making characters and then making all the decisions that they need to for the game itself. So it's a limiting factor, but it's not, to me, it's not that bad. Kindred do not relate to each other the way we do, especially extremely old kindred like our protagonist. They don't have friends, for instance. Everything is about power and possession, which are the antithesis of any genuine connection. It's a challenge to try and disconnect from how we might view a thing and step into that mindset in order to properly represent it. You have to lean first on making character interesting to learn about them and spend time with. You cannot expect players to initially identify with them or maybe even like them. It takes finesse to balance that, to zoom out and find the broader, more universal entry points that might encourage players to feel like they can identify with that character. That's also why it's just more difficult overall, because it's an elder. It isn't a brand new kindred where you do need those little training wheels and you do need to figure that out. And that's where a lot of the easier connections, because playing as a neonate makes connection a lot easier because you're learning about everything as your character does. So it's not a bad thing to be a neonate. It's just a difficult thing to do as an elder to make everything click, in my eyes. Humanity is something distant, so what does that make humans to you? Centuries of existence can be tough on a person who can only feed on others. Are they just something to be consumed, or is it possible to have trust and kinship? Is everyone just a piece or a trophy? All these questions and more what we are asking about your character and the NPCs that star in Bloodlines 2. And then They'll be back in 2 weeks, where they'll explore the neo noir art style. Lucky for us, this is past. Where's our Dev Diary 3? So we have just the art style itself. And for me, just as a note, the previous Bloodlines 2 had trailers that were extremely unsettling, and I loved it. These trailers that I'm getting from the trailers that we watched recently, they're not so unsettling, more so as just showing what you can do in the game. And I would want them to explore the more uh, nihilistic portions of kindred in the game and bring it to us in a trailer, because that would be something that I would want to see as a part of a vampire game. Neo noir is a revival movement of film noir from the mid 20th century, where artists focus on modern day cities, painting them in bright neon lights and deep shadows. It's very moody and evokes places that harbor sinister characters. Think Blade Runner or John Wick. Subversive, dark, and threatening are all neo noir conventions we're focusing on for our game. Vampire the Masquerade is all of these tones, and so naturally it worked hand in hand when it came to creating the seedy underbelly of our Seattle. From locations to characters, our vision is showing a side of Seattle at night that goes deeper than what you see on the surface. Whether it's dark cornered alleyways to room or interiors that host Machiavellian politics behind closed doors, Neo Noir puts atmosphere and contrast at the center of its palette, and that's something that works perfectly with our vampire fantasy and ultimately Bloodlines 2. And if I'm honest, these aren't bad. Like, these aren't bad, like, screenshots in the game. It's not terrible. Playing with lighting is always a good thing. And then the world of shadow versus the world of light. As an elder thrust into the modern, unfamiliar world, we're playing on all visual elements of neo noir to paint a picture of Seattle through the eyes of a vampire. Contrast is very important to this visual identity in lots of different ways. A classic neo noir is light and dark. We use this to split the world in two. Vampires inhabit the dark. It's a place you need to use for safety, but dark places feel more dead because of this. The darkness becomes the place where we feel the most secure, the most in tune with the world around us. And then you need to see where you're going, even in the dark. So that's why we have a very cold color. So that's why it's like blues, purples, like it isn't yellows, orange. It's a pale blue. That's good. Not a one-on-one replica, but they've created Seattle by spending lots of time researching Google Earth and real life visits. That's really good. I like that. Being able to go to a place and actually like see it in that way, like put it in the game, is really good. I wouldn't expect a full on. Um, I wouldn't expect a full on um one-to-one model recreation of it, because that would be very much undertaking that's just not smart. So I'm at least happy that they went to go see it. Um, then we have creating vampiric concepts in Unreal. And then why make concepts in Unreal? Building worlds directly in the game engine is incredibly easy and fun. And then the experience, another Chinese room. We had a chance to learn Unreal and experiment with concept art pipeline to add this piece of software to our workflow. Okay. So they've been making stuff in Unreal. And if I'm honest, it looks good. Um, so okay, so they make the game they make a portion of the game. They're like, hey, we need this, this, and this, and this, and this, and then they just go and make it. That's not terrible. It's a good thing. And then the radio tower. Hmm. You're like, this is really good. I like this because it's you have the groups, but you have the grains into the orange, and then you just have the entirely muted blues and purple up here that basically just make it feel like you're fully in the dark. It's really really nice. Um and yeah, this looks really nice. And if they have flashlights that are like this and they're able to make it work well, this would be sick. Actually being like stealth a little bit, this would be pretty sick. Having to hide from the cop like that. Bloody murder. Game contains a lot of blood. We're lucky enough that 3R team provided us with a few blood decals to use directly in Unreal. They submit our scenes and let them in an interesting way to enhance their shiny property, adding a slight hue of red light so the blood color is not affected by the mood of the scene. Okay. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I would hope they can show more now, but like that doesn't look that bad at all. Right. I believe that was 4. Let's go into Dev Diary 5. Um, so for this one, we're gonna read it fully because I would like to know their entire thing into it. All right, so I'm gonna share with you now behind the scenes look what our team's been doing on the game, and when you play it, we hope that you will all love it as much as we do. In the ever-evolving world of video game development, staying on the cutting edge is a continuous pursuit. With the release of Unreal Engine 5, the landscape has shifted dramatically, presenting game developers with an array of groundbreaking technologies and tools. I wanted to delve into our experiences and challenge with some of the experimental technologies that have come to define UE5, Nanite, Virtual Shadow Maps, and Lumen. These technologies play a pivotal role in creating a realistic and dark world that aligns perfectly with the neo-noir art direction of our game. As an important milestone in our development was the upgrade from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5. It's a big risk because normally you lock in the version of your development engine early. The changes touched every part of the game and all our scenes. Lighting and assets had to be converted. All the dev teams communicated with us brilliantly to make sure that the new tools were exactly what we needed to make the game look amazing and run smoothly. I do hope that that still is true because running smoothly will help this game so much. Lumen is a new real-time global illumination tech. It brings a level of realism to game lighting with ray tracing to simulate the path of light and how it interacts with surface and materials. It can simulate indirect lighting and reflections. However, integrating Lumen into our game was no small feat. Ensuring consistent and smooth performance was key to achieving the atmospheric lighting required for our world. Working with dynamic lighting and shadow has always been a challenge in performance terms. It was expensive. Placing lights is an art, and overlapping lights exponentially increase the complexity and the cost of rendering the scene because a lot of calculations have to be done for each pixel hit by each light. Normally, the solution is to pre-bake lights. All the shadows were saved to the level before release, and you can change them. This provided great quality results, but for a cheap cost. But the lights and shadows were well faked. You'd then have to include other tricks like light probes to show that on an object moving inside that space. And then it lets us change the color, position, intensity of a lot of lights that can change dynamically. So to figure out the best way to include these new lights, we spent a lot of time working with our artists, and it works by storing all the surfaces hit by a light in a memory cache. This cache is at a lower resolution than the output. That means that it's way faster to calculate the effects of lighting. Then Lumen uses temporal upsampling, which makes lower resolution larger without losing quality and detail. None of this can work without nanite, cached virtual shadows, and temporal super resolution. So he adapted all those technologies too. That sounded like a whole lot of mumbo jumbo, but pictures are pretty. Pictures are pretty, and it's actually showing decent shadows and lights. But I kind of get it. I kind of get it. It's just basically the lights are being made at the same time and then being held, so it's smoother, and then yeah. So yeah, that's why like even this one, it's fucking awesome. It's awesome, but it's so I feel like it's gonna be very much a task to run anything with a lot of stuff like this. Um, with that, we've done. This is number 5, correct? All right. So we're actually going to stop at 5, and then we're going to hit the playable clans until we hit Dev Diary 5. Uh, that will be on the next video. So as of right now, thank you all for being here. Hopefully, I understand like it's a lot of stuff to have thrown at you, and this was all still in 2023. So they've been hard at work, and hopefully the past 2 years have been, for the past year has been very helpful for them. And this is something I am still waiting for. Um, they have been doing good in my eyes, and I can't wait. Um, well, thank you all for joining in, watching the video. I hope if you did like it, you give me a like and you subscribe to the channel. And hope to see you some other time.